Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of OPNoobs Should We Cover It? Brought to you by the OPNoobs team. Check us out at opnoobs.com. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Wait, you don't know if you like us yet. Anyway, I am your host, as always, Steven. Holy crap, that's a real last name. Staniszewski. I troll on Steam as Slave to Machine. I am joined today by a rousing bunch of lunatics. To my far right, not far right, but slightly further right, we have the medium-high poobah of OP Noobs, Chris Kellogg. Chris, how you doing today? Part of 1/3 of the Nintendo Defense Force. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Steven. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then to his furthest right, to my furthest right, we have AJ Malardi, one of our writers. He shows up every once in a while. He is Chris Kellogg's neighbor, so we keep him around. AJ, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me.
And then slightly to the left of Kellogg, if this layout is to be believed, and straight from the basement, we have Tyler. Tyler is our resident masochist. He shows up every once in a while when we let him out. Tyler,
Yeah,
how you doing?
I really have to pee. I was gonna go before the show, but now the show's starting, and I don't want to need to go during the show because that's bad form.
Yeah,
I'm doing good. How are you? How are you, Steven?
you're looking a little red right now, a little jaundicey, a little red
I'm trying
yellow.
to hold it all in.
Yeah. Awesome. We're going to keep checking back on you as soon as we run this 30-minute clip of a rushing stream. Hopefully we're piping that in at a frequency that only Tyler can hear. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the show. In the meantime, I'm going to take a drink because, of course, I am the unofficial god of tits and wine. And apparently the new Hand of the Queen, if anybody's following on Game of Thrones, apparently that's a thing that happened. But we're not going to go into spoilers. Then finally, our resident Viking and knowledge of all things esoteric, Eli, also known as Rek. He is also the host of the occasionally Thursday game show. I say occasionally because occasionally it doesn't happen. Eli, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. And as far as occasionally that not happening, it mostly just depends on what the circumstances are at the time. I blame Fred.
I also blame Fred. And sadly, Fred could not join us tonight because he's French.
Sadly.
And we blame him for that, too.
Yeah, no, right now he's playing Witcher 3, probably on the lowest difficulty setting, trying to get his bear armor. Because that's what he told me he was going to do when he blew this show off. So,
good job, Fred.
Props to you, Fred.
I hope you at least get the bear armor. I hope it's worth it.
I really do hope it's worth it, to be honest.
Also, good job, Stylo, on that rushing stream footage.
This is violent style. And, of course, the unspoken wheel that constantly gets the grease. Stylo bringing up that beautiful rushing stream, that wonderful waterfall that we've...
Oh, look, I think I can see Fred out somewhere in that stream hunting bear armor off in the distance.
He's actually trying to climb upstream. He is the salmon. He is the salmon of doubt of OP Noobs.
I think we need to have... I think we need to have, like, a gif of the Black Knight wandering around that waterfall, missing one of his arms with Fred's head on.
Wouldn't he just be, like, dragging himself along in the grass?
Well, depending on at what point of the fight he decided to run away like brave Sir Robin.
Indeed, indeed. I want to see, because last time we crammed in a whole bunch of Nintendo references. I want to see how many Monty Python references we can do this time. And, of course, the sad, pathetic shill that we are, of course, we do have a Patreon. We have crazy stuff that goes on all the time. I want to shill that real quick. Chris, may I shill the Patreon?
May you shield the Patreon. I apologize. May you shield. I put the Patreon in chat, but I can explain the Patreon and why we need the.
Please explain the Patreon. Let us share.
So this Patreon it's kind of like a little tip jar that we like to put out, where we collect the tips of that you can throw our way, ideally into our Patreon, not just a metaphorical tip jar. This is a real one. We're entirely volunteer. We do everything for the love of the game. We get Steam keys, but sometimes we don't. We need to buy games, and that money has to come from somewhere, as well as the cost for hosting and the tournaments and all the incredible stuff we do. I could use just a little bit of extra help from you if you could provide us a little bit of money. we'd really appreciate it. So consider a donation. I put the link in our chat. It's also below this video, and you can find it on our website if you're watching on YouTube. So please consider a donation.
That is right. Our official go-to phrase is just the tip. But before we get into the list, wow, it's been a hell of a week in indie gaming. G2A has pretty much taken all the headlines. In case you're not aware, Tiny Build Games has basically called out G2A for essentially taking upwards of 6 figures worth of sales in key sales and not giving the devs anything because they're not partners. When Tiny Build went to G2A and basically said, we'd like a cut of the sales that you're, just taking out of us, they said, well, you're not an official partner, so no, it's your resellers, it's your partners that gave us the keys. So that's a lot of shade kind of thrown at one company. I kind of want to go around, get everybody's thoughts, and then we're going to get into the whole point of this show, which is not to ramble, but we're going to ramble a little bit. Chris, what are your thoughts on the whole Tiny Build G2A thing?
Tiny Build obviously has been a buddy of ours, and we've had a good relationship with them. We've enjoyed their games. They've been on our one of our dev talks. I got to meet Yulia once, and it was a great experience. And generally, they're good people, I would say, overall. And I think that my point of saying all that is that they deserve the money that they have earned. And I kind of get where G2A is coming from. They did legitimately acquire these keys, and I think they could work on an agreement where G2A is like, look, we get to still sell the keys we paid for. Maybe Tiny Build could say, okay, fine, but in the future, could we maybe get some kind of partnership deal? Because you're clearly selling a lot of our games, and if G2A doesn't give them that chance, I think that's pretty screwed up. I think it's a little bit yet to be seen, but I think G2A ought to give them a deal because Tiny Build obviously has things people want, and G2A is profiting on that. And I'm sure there's something they can work out where everyone makes money. So, I think a deal should be struck. Tiny Build represents mostly indie developers, so
right.
Totally fair.
And I have seen instances where some games that were just released are going for 25, 35% off already. And indie devs, they probably feel the worst of it. I mean, we see a AAA game at a discount, we kind of impulsively jump on it. But when a game is already offered at about $10, is it really worth saving that $2, $3 if it's coming kind of right out of somebody's mouth? AJ, your thoughts?
Obviously, it's a little bit shady with everything that's going on, and kind of in agreement with what Chris is saying. Hopefully, they can work out a deal. Obviously, we don't know the finer details to it, but I really hope no one gets blacklisted for this whole thing, because everyone likes games at a discount, but I don't want to see people that create the games get screwed over either. I'm kind of with Chris. Hopefully they can get a deal sorted, or the truth comes out and we find out who's to blame exactly, but yeah, hopefully we can make a right out of this.
Well,
can I add something to the conversation too?
Sure.
I don't know. I just I had heard about this issue, and I'd only sort of read about it a little bit superficially. But just doing a little follow up now. Apparently, Tiny Build has claimed that they have $450,000 worth of damages because of some fraudulent keys entirely. So I just wanted to understand further, maybe you could clarify this for me. Are individuals buying games that are themselves not working at all, the keys just don't work? Or is it that they're just getting these keys in a fraudulent manner and then selling them?
So the big thing that kind of kicked all this off is, when it comes down to it, G2A kind of functions like Amazon, where there are individual sellers that are allowed to sell keys that they've gotten from bundles. And, we gave away a bunch of keys, not to implicate ourselves, mind you, but we gave away a bunch of keys during our last E4I tournament. By the way, if you haven't checked it out, check it out down in after the show on our YouTube or our video on demand, the past videos of the Verdun tournament that we had, sponsored by Blackmail Games and M2H. We gave away a bunch of keys during that, And basically it works like this. If somebody didn't want one of the games that we gave away, they could go to G2A and they could make some money off it. A game that they got for free. A game key they got for free, for nothing. And at which point they can then turn around, they can sell it for a profit for themselves. A lot of the keys are dirt cheap because there's no real overhead. There's no packaging, there's no shipping. It's you put it up there and then someone buys it and then that's it. So you can basically sell it for whatever you want. You have a brand new copy of Arkham Knight, you can charge someone $10 for it. Why? Because it's approximately $9.99 more than it's actually worth. But I digress. But at the same time, it's one of those things where the devs don't get any of that money. But then again, GameStop, when they sell stuff, the devs don't get any of that money either, technically, if it's bought used. So it's one of those kind of dicey situations where, as easy as it is to get a digital key, and this is part of the reason why, you know, YouTubers don't get free games out the as much as they used to, because now you have to deal with these in-bulk key sellers. Also, people are doing chargebacks with fake IDs, and like someone will go to TinyBuild, for example, and buy a bunch of keys in bulk, right? With the idea of selling them, and then just like actual goods. They're doing chargebacks with these fake IDs or these fake credit cards, or they're just stolen credit cards. And so TinyBuild has to eat all that because they've already sold the good. They can't just pull it back because they're an indie dev. You know, Ubisoft did a lot of, you know, key cutting a while back for, I believe it was Far Cry 4. And there were illegally gotten keys and whatnot, so they could do it, but could indies. Tyler, as a streamer who does stuff occasionally, what is your channel, by the way?
Oh, my channel is Danger Video Games. I'll link it in chat in like a minute, but I can't talk and do things on the computer at the same time, so I'll do that in a minute.
Understand.
Anyways, in regards to the whole G2A thing, I'm admittedly not terribly familiar with it, but from what I've heard about it, it seems like it could have huge economic and political consequences for the rest of Europe. TinyBuild choosing to exit G2A and James Cameron, I think the president of TinyBuild, resigning and stepping down as prime president. That could be big. So yeah, the whole G2A thing could have a lot of ramifications across the rest of their fellow European neighbors.
So do you think that Prime Minister Michael Bay might step in?
He might. I'm not sure if they want his relatively foreign influence to come in. But again, I don't know a ton about the situation, so I'm not sure I'd advocate that kind of major change at this time.
Well, I understand that he was very integral when it came to the Battle of Pearl Harbor and stealing the Allspark away.
That's true. I'm a little fuzzy on my history, but I'm pretty sure I do remember that being a major factor in history. If anybody can reunite G2A and TinyBuild, I think it might be Michael Bay.
That's fair. That's fair.
I would just also like to throw in the Battle of Waterloo, as is illustrated in our stream footage right now.
Get the hell out.
Oh, I have to pee.
Keep it up. Think Babbling Brook. Flowing stream.
Oh, I know. It truly is beautiful.
It is. I think we should just forego the games and just stare at this all day. Eli, real quick, what are your thoughts on the G2A thing? Because, as always, we always look to you for guidance, sir.
I'm going to say that it largely depends on the specific model that they're using and the way that they go about dealing with the people selling keys on their site. If it's somebody who is somehow getting hundreds of thousands of keys to games, like one person selling it on there, then they should really be actually like asking questions about what the situation is with that person, because an individual selling game keys that they got shouldn't have that many game keys to get. If they're buying them like in bulk for resale, then they should have a channel to be selling them already. They shouldn't be using a site for individuals to be selling keys.
Well, the fake IDs being what they are, it's not that hard to just make something up, although you would expect that there'd be some vetting. Essentially.
Some kind of vetting.
Yeah. Well, who knows? But that being said, we're going to get right into our vetting. So what kind of vetting do we do? Well, core vetting, vetting. Anyway, puns aside. Bad puns aside. I thought it was funny. Anyway, what do we do on this show? Should we cover it? It's right in the title. Essentially, this is your chance every week to... We're going to show a bunch of trailers, and then you guys are going to decide, should we cover it? What does that mean? It means that we reach out to the developers themselves, sometimes the publishers, sometimes the handlers, sometimes the janitors. And we reach out and we get somebody from the development team or from the publishers on the show, on the weekend interviews. We just did an interview this past weekend. Chris Kellogg was part of that wonderful little thing. Chris, what was the game?
Sorry, I apologize. I was actually engaged in chat.
I noticed that.
With the Dizzy Juice and Danger Video Games. But sorry, what was your question?
What was the interview that you did just this past weekend? It's on Saturday.
Oh, Warriors Pilgrimage.
Warriors Pilgrimage.
Yeah. So that was just a little quick background. That was more of a tech demo than a game, but it was still very beautiful. And it was made by 2 undergrads, which was particularly impressive. They don't intend to pursue it as a full game. But it is still a pretty awesome thing that they've created. So, yeah, check out the interview. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. It's also on our video on demand, but we're going to get right into it. So, like I said, this is your chance to decide, should we cover it or should we not? We're still going to cover it anyway on the site, but how deep do you want us to go? To what depths do you want us to plumb? So, that being said, we're going to get right into it. Stylo, the first one on my list is Tormented 12. And so, Chris... if you could be so kind as to read the game description. And Tyler, if you could read about the developers, if we have it. Because in some cases, we don't have it. Because some developers are really, really secretive. They're like Howard Hughes, but with less bottles of urine. So, with that in mind, Tormented 12. Stylo, run that footage.
All right, so Tormented 12. Inspired by games like Ultima, Eye of the Beholder, and others, Tormented 12 is a historical fantasy game based on the biblical account of the 12 Hebrew tribes. Encounters, riddles, and magic will be integrated according to that history, with a bit of old-fashioned RPG gameplay weaved in. So basically, this is the Old Testament, the RPG. Over to you, Tyler.
All right, there's not a ton of information in the studio background section here, so for the sake of it still being entertaining, I guess I'll sing it.
Thank you.
Developed by Leon Aminof.
Beautiful.
Bravo.
That was beautiful.
That was lovely. Oh boy, so I'm going to abstain because of my family history.
I mean, that's kind of hilarious. I mean, are you the resident Jew right now?
I am the resident Jew, so let's get right into it.
You kind of have to speak for all of your peoples.
Okay. I wish it were
I just want to say that this is clearly, as Kellogg put it, the Old Testament RPG, but with, Spartans from 300 thrown in, because that's realistic.
Hey, 300 was absolutely historically accurate. If by historically accurate you mean not at all entirely. Okay, biblical games have never done well. We have made many a joke, not necessarily on this show, but I think we all know how well the Bible games from the NES turned out. I think we all know about Super Noah's Ark 3D, which was basically just a Doom clone. And then Chex took over and did a Doom clone around the same year, but anyway.
To be fair, though, Super 3D Noah's Ark was actually made by one of the companies that was involved in the first place.
That was Wisdom Tree, as a matter of fact. And when I had an NES, I had a bunch of Wisdom Tree games. Why? Because I hate myself. Because when you're Jewish, you have to hate yourself. But that being said, I honestly would play this. Not because I feel like I need to have a scroll in front of me, but I think this might actually be interesting. I'm a fan of the top-down. I'm a sucker for anything D&D related, and I'm a sucker for anything that looks kind of like Gauntlet, even if it might not be good. But elected leaders are wise and liberal. Not so sure about that bullet point, but thank you. AJ, your thoughts?
Man, I mean, I'm a big history guy too, so that includes like biblical stuff, but this just has absolutely no appeal to me. But I kind of not I don't have a big preference for RPGs either, but I don't know. There's nothing about this that's jumping out at me, and I really just don't have much to say about it. It's like pretty.
Ah, yes, the 40 Days of Famine simulator. Actually, I would like to have an Exodus simulator. Just go through all the plagues in one shot. I think that would be wonderful. If there's not a Skyrim mod, there needs to be. Tyler,
Yes.
your thoughts, because you sound slightly not even remotely Jewish.
Oh, thank you. I'm not quite sure how to respond to that. Anyways, no, I think this game looks kind of interesting. I'm not a that well versed in biblical-based video games, but to my understanding, most of them were made with like at least half of the intent being just shoving a Bible down somebody's throat, which is never a good goal to have from the onset. This game looks like it has a lack of polish, definitely, but it doesn't look like it's trying to ram a Bible down my throat, which I'm okay with. I am a big fan of a lot of the stories of the Old Testament, so I'm kind of interested in seeing what they have, what we're going to go with them, even if it doesn't look like the most like mechanically like perfect or even graphically impressive game out there. I'd be interested in seeing us cover this.
Okay. Okay. Chris?
Just me, or like the graphics just like weirdly inconsistent. Like sometimes it does look like Ultima, just like it advertises, and then other times there's like this sort of high resolution kind of cell shaded looking thing, and then it just goes to straight up 3D.
It actually looks like it was made in something along the lines of RPG Maker, because the stuff that looks 3D, it's a pre-rendered image of a 3D model,
Right.
and it's a cutout image too. That's just pasted on top, and the way they do it is almost exactly like RPG Maker does it. So I think it might be RPG Maker.
Gotcha. Okay.
And historically, RPG Maker games have not fared well. I mean, once you've had the Columbine shooters use your software to make their game, you kind of have to. It's only a steep hill from there. But yeah, the Sodom and Gomorrah simulator. Yeah, sure. Let's bring on the Pillars of Salt. You know, I think that'd be fun. Cain and Abel simulator. Let's do that one.
This is one of those games where you just also need to ask that question. Why? You know, because with video games, it's like there's a lot of situations where you might want to ask why. Like, why would they make a game like, I don't know, Earthworm Jim? Like, you look at that and you go, why? But then you play and you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then you go look at this and you're like, why? And then when you look at how the game looks, you're like, no, seriously, why?
Well, I want to be fair.
This doesn't need to exist. This just looks bad. And it's going to be someone's horrible interpretation of history.
I want to be fair. I have read the Pentateuch. I have read the New Testament as well. By the way, the sequel, not as good as the first. But I don't remember orc champions in any of the Pentateuch. I don't remember orcs or elves.
Maybe
anywhere.
You need to start going to Sunday school again. They were in there, man.
You know?
That's right.
It's a new marketing strategy to get the youth involved.
I wasn't all that welcome in Sunday school, Eli, for the record. So now that we have committed blasphemy in the first 15 minutes of this show, first, mind you, I'm happy about that.
Attitude is always positive.
That's true. You gotta be positive.
You know, a game should have a moral, and if that's the moral of this game, it's an excellent moral.
I agree, but at the same time, I kind of have to echo. I'd love to find out more about this game. I want to find out the why. So we'll come back to this if we haven't all been turned into pillars of salt and flames, and we'll get a burning bush to ask, just like a magic 8-ball. I'm gonna move on before I get struck down. So the next game is Hypnorain. Hypnorain, Chris.
All right. Hypnorain is a vertical bullet hell shooter. The player guides a character through handcrafted levels, shooting and dodging their way through an army of enemies and their mesmerizing bullet patterns. Over to you, Tyler.
Developed by Kirill, aka Kirill Poletaev. All right, I'm done.
All right. Well,
so that was awkward.
You got a mic drop, so that's always worthwhile. Okay, so Hypnorain, Ikaruga with neon, like a lot of neon. I'm a sucker for bullet hells. I'm just gonna abstain and say yes. Eli, you first.
I think Ikaruga might be kind of a steep comparison there. I mean, the layout, sure,
Yes.
but it doesn't look like it plays like Ikaruga.
No, by no means. But the layout of the actual game, it looks like the base of Ikaruga.
But then you can compare it to almost any other bullet hell out there.
I could, but it was the first one that popped to my brain because Ikaruga is amazing.
Fail, sir.
No. Whenever you reference the GameCube, it is never a fail. Nintendo Defense Force, go! Chris, your thoughts?
Well, I defend your statement about the GameCube, but in regards to this particular game, I mean, if it was like a free game, I might consider this. But like this is, I've seen so many other bullet hell games that are out right now, and they're very popular right now, that are just a little more fleshed out than this. Yeah. All I'm seeing here is like a single lane, where you've got some enemies that constantly shoot bullets at you, which is very traditional for arcade space shooters in the 80s, and I don't see that they've evolved past that genre at all, other than add a little bit of neon lighting, which quite frankly has been done to death these days. It can be polygons, it can be various versions of bullet hells, it can be any kind of two-dimensional top-down game with neon colors, and honestly it's been done better than this. So I can't really say this looks good, or even that I probably wouldn't even consider playing it, because I already know I own games that are 20 years old that are better than this probably. So yeah. Sorry, I cannot give it any like
1942, Dragon Spirit, any of those fun. The amazing side-scrolling Japanese shooters. Oh, yeah, those are great. Tyler, your thoughts? Babbling Brook, flowing stream.
I'm not a huge fan of bullet hells. I do prefer them to regular hell. So there's that.
You've been to regular hell.
Well, I'm assuming that's what the basement is.
I was going to say, you spent a lot of time in the basement.
Let's see. I don't have a ton of thoughts on it. It might be a fun game, but as it's previously been stated, it's kind of been done to death. I do like that they at least try to make it pretty with the neon colors, and it's not seizure-inducing. Some other bullet hells we've looked at have been kind of seizure-inducing. So I appreciate that quality. But admittedly, the best thing I can say about it is it's not giving me a seizure. And aside from that, I don't find it particularly attractive.
Okay. AJ, your thoughts?
I hate to make this comparison because we do it every week, but if this game was on the phone and if it was dirt cheap, I might play it here and there. But other than that, not really. I wouldn't invest too much money or time into this. I don't see myself doing too much with it. But yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, we have a lot of games that are already like this, so it's kind of hard to compete in such an area that has been kind of done to death. I mean, bullet hells are at its core fairly simple, if not mathematically complicated, but that's gameplay. So we're going to just pan this one and move on to Dead End Road. That sounds cheery. Dead End Road, Chris.
All right. Dead End Road. Dead End Road is an atmospheric driving game with a lo-fi aesthetic, permadeath, and procedurally generated elements designed for multiple short runs, featuring a unique wish fulfillment text parser system to generate a new ending each playthrough.
Okay, and
that is all.
Developed by DDD Wares.
What is it with developers not wanting to talk about themselves? I mean, it is something that we'd kind of like, guys. Okay, so procedurally generated driving. I think that's kind of unusual. Eli, your thoughts?
Yeah, procedurally generated driving is unusual. I'm not seeing anything of value really in this commercial. I just see a road and a car moving to avoid running into another car a few times, and some old woman sitting in a chair saying, "So you finally arrived, my dear." I don't get it.
Cool. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because again, trailers are supposed to be the best footage you can come up with.
And I'm noticing that sometimes in the right lane, you've got a car coming at you, But at other times, the car in the right lane is driving the same way as you.
Well, so
what country are they supposed to be in that people can drive on either side of the road?
See, the rules of driving are also procedurally generated.
Apparently, like stop signs are optional and all that.
You know, I wonder though. So it says it's procedurally generated. I wonder if that means that the entire text as well is procedurally generated. I mean, I assume that's what they mean. Like, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure text game in a way.
Tyler, your thoughts? You like boring stuff.
Let's see. Procedurally generated driving. Couldn't I do that with like better graphics if I just went outside and started driving? I mean, it even has permadeath too.
If you're really bad at the game, yes, there is indeed generally permadeath. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you drive a shitty car, it's kind of got the lo-fi aesthetics. So
if it's like a smart car,
I do kind of see the appeal in this game though, because I can probably assume that the in-game car has air conditioning, whereas mine does not. So I'm kind of interested in it for that aspect.
It's like Desert Bus almost.
It has a really awesome bit of technology there. It matches the environment that you're sitting in while you're playing it. So if you're in a house that has AC, you get AC while you're driving that car.
So it's like lo-fi VR is what I'm understanding.
I was going to say, I hope they release this in VR so we can get the full procedurally generated lo-fi experience.
Oh, is there already a Desert Bus VR? Can someone confirm that for me?
Oh, I believe.
Because Desert Bus was amazing. 8 hours of my life I'll never get back. And then another 8 hours getting back.
There is a Desert Bus VR. There's a website. Oh my God.
Thank you, Lord, for this thing we are about to receive.
It is a fully fledged remake. Holy shit. Wow.
I am not too terribly surprised. I hope it comes with its own catheter bag. But do we even need to look at this any further? Can we move on? Can we get it like a consensus, or are we done with this thing?
Done.
I'm okay with not covering it.
Cool. We're going to go on to the next one, which we've kind of already covered before, if I remember correctly. It's Hyperdimension Neptunia Limited Edition Trilogy Pack. The sequel?
Good Lord, that's a lot of adjectives.
Right? Well, the sequel's not part of it, but I felt like it needed some more oomph. You know. So, Chris, if you could.
All right, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth Series 1 through 3 plus all DLCs. The description follows for Hyperdimension Rebirth 2. Gamindustri has been taken over by a new threat, and the CPUs are nowhere to be found. It's now up to their younger sisters to step into the spotlight and save the day in this hilarious, deeply customizable JRPG. Well, it looks like you actually get something to read now, Tyler. Over to you.
Yeah, the studio actually wanted to talk about themselves this time, so I'm probably not going to sing it all, otherwise I'd get hurt. Idea Factory Company continues to work with third-party publishers to release video game titles in North America and Europe, including the Record of Agorist War series, the Hakuoki series, and a variety of others. Following its establishment, Idea Factory International served as an information hub for Idea Factory games, and has since published the Idea Factory titles Monster Monpiece and Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1 for the PlayStation Vita handheld entertainment system in 2014. Idea Factory International Inc. intends to continue providing localized media to fans worldwide in conjunction with Idea Factory Company Ltd. With a focus on strengthening the Idea Factory brand across the globe.
Okay. Eli, as I always do with the pronunciations of certain words, would you like to correct Tyler on any?
Well, I mean, agorist? Or, you know, if you were in Japan, agorist. But I don't care that much about that one because I don't think that's even a real word in any language. I think they just made that up.
Pretty much. And the other one?
Hakuoki.
Thank you. Okay, so that's another 15 lashings for Tyler once the show ends.
Can I go pee now?
No.
No. Think fire hoses. So,
God. Like on UHF, the kid in front of the fire hose.
That's a UHF. That is the first Weird Al reference. I think we need to start doing a counter for these, honestly. So we said yes to this game when we first covered it. Do we still say yes to it is the question. I don't want to sound kind of terse about it, but it's a re-release. We already liked Hyperdimension.
Suit edition?
Yeah, this is essentially the GOAT edition. Not the actual GOAT, but this is the Game of the Year edition. Essentially. game of all time, whatever. But yeah, this is basically the DLC, everything packed in. So if you didn't get it the first time or you weren't interested, this is the edition to get. Quick thought, since we've already said yes to it before, first off, do we say yes to it again? As in, should we actually, interview the devs? And two, is it a little much to release essentially a cash-in with all the DLC and all that? Release it again? What is the purpose of the Game of the Year editions for these? AJ?
Well, I'm not sure what they're going to do exactly for this Game of the Year editions, but looking back at previous games when they do Game of the Year editions, there usually are some minor tweaks, and it might be at a slightly discounted price, which obviously would always have appeal. But honestly, I never really saw too much of the appeal for those, unless it did come with like DLC, which this one apparently is. But I don't understand why they would need to like remarket it. Like, why wouldn't they just like quietly put it on sale and just say like, hey, if you haven't gotten the game, you could just get it all bundled with DLC. It just seems like kind of a waste of time and money to kind of market this thing as one thing when it's already there. Just sell it. Like, why do you have to make an event out of it? I don't understand. But
well, as the fellow that decided to play hooky tonight and get his bear armor, yes, we know who you are, OPNoobs Online, down the chat. According to him, it says this one has the third in the series. The previous one did not. But couldn't you just buy the third one as DLC? But anyway. Oh, it's Stylomax. Never mind. I take that back, OPNoobs Online. You can stay. Chris, your thoughts, same question, knowing this new information.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this isn't a series that I know a lot about, and when I think about Game of the Year editions of things, particularly ones with DLCs, if this was something I was going to get into, it would be for the first time, and I wouldn't mind having all the complete, series together. So for me, I actually welcome the idea that they would have this all together as long as it's actually a good discount and they're not just taking the original prices and stacking them, which I doubt they are.
Yeah.
Beyond that, like I said, I know a lot about the series, and I don't really know a lot about this particular like manga or anything like that, like anything about like what the underlying intellectual property is. So I hate to say it, I can't comment a ton on it.
That's totally understandable. And yes, never mind, Stylo, you're not Fred. Thank you for not being Fred.
We do.
Of course, this is published by NIS. We've said wonderful things about NIS in the past. Disgaea is immediately jumping to mind because we've reviewed that on the site. Also, the site is opnoobs.com in case you want to check it out. Don't do it now. Do it later. Tyler, your thoughts? Same questions.
Yes. So just a quick question I have for you. So is this a game that we have reviewed before in a previous incarnation?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know enough about the studio or the game series to say whether their Game of the Year release is a good marketing or business move. However, I do think we should cover it just for the sake of being able to take a look at both versions and go, was this Game of the Year like really worth it? Like, how does it compare to the original? And by using kind of an in-depth comparison and exploring it to really decide whether this was a good move on their part or not. So for that sake alone, I'd say I'm interested in seeing this covered.
Okay. Eli?
I don't know. Maybe people are putting too much thought into the whole Game of the Year idea thing on this. They're not calling it Game of the Year. This is just a pack of all three games. So
this is more focused to the people that haven't, like Kellogg, that have never played the game before, want to get into it.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would think that this would be aimed at people that haven't played before, for them to be able to just get the whole thing at a little lower price than if they were buying the individual ones.
Yeah. And I make no mistake, I'm not knocking on Game of the Year editions. We've seen some people, some publishers in the past kind of really abuse that logo. I mean, we've seen Games of the Year editions for things like games that shouldn't be even released the first time around. I think I saw a Two Worlds Game of the Year edition, which that did not win any Game of the Year edition awards at all, ever. Shouldn't.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
Let me know if this has already been done, because if it hasn't, I'm totally going to do it.
Yeah.
Could I theoretically release a game and just have like part of the title be Game of the Year edition? Like that's just like a part of the title?
I think officially you can.
Just call it Game of the Year.
As a subtitle.
No, just call it Game of the Year.
Oh, that's a great. Oh my gosh.
Game of the Year edition.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
Where's my
That's
pen? I'm writing
But
this
you have
down.
to, you have to
I'm gonna
release
get a
Game
pen.
of the Year, and but it has to be only out for a very short period of time, so you can have the Game of the Year edition of
Make
that.
sure it's the Flowers of Robert Mapplethorpe VR edition. Game of the Year edition. That's what you need to do.
With the free Desert Bus VR DLC.
With the free Desert Bus. And make sure it comes with Teller. Not a VR representation, just actual Teller from Penn and Teller.
All right, I'll get on that.
Awesome. Okay. Honestly, anything NIS makes, even though sometimes the PC port's a little sketchy, you're still getting some quality gameplay. You're still getting quality content. I say yes. I think we all say yes. We're going to move on to the Spatials Galactology. Huh. Chris?
I practiced that in my mind, how to say that, Galactology, because it seems like a trickier one. But yes, the Spatials Galactology. Galactology is the Spatials reimagined as a deeper, more rewarding simulation game. With mod support and active pause, Galactology is a true world simulation with many new variables, sophisticated AI, and unique gameplay systems behind every object and room. In-station combat, invaders, diseases, healthcare, logistics, spaceships you can control, the list of new features is virtually endless. Over to you, Tyler.
Weird and Rye is a Barcelona game development studio founded in 2014 by two brothers, Carlos and Max Carrasco. I'm going to mispronounce that, I'm sorry. Carlos, a programmer, and Max, an artist, share a love for simulation games and classic play, as well as long walks on the beach.
Who doesn't like long walks on the beach? I asked you. All right, so just from the outset, SimCity? Serious SimCity feels, basically. AJ, let's start with you.
Even though this is our space game of the week, well, I don't know if it is, but I always get that thought when I see it, space. This honestly doesn't look that bad to me. It looks like you're pretty flexible with what you can do. I mean, I don't know. I kind of like these like simulators, but it looks like you got a lot of options, and for something like this, that's really all you can want. So I'd be willing to give it a shot for sure.
Okay, Eli.
To me, it looks like another business management, time management simulator kind of thing. I'm not super excited about anything like that at this point. There are certain ones that when I happen to try them out, they're good enough that I like playing them, but generally I look at them and I just think, nah, I could do better stuff with my time.
That's fair enough. Chris, you have nothing to do with your time, and you've also done reviews of Total War on the site, which is something similar, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I don't know if I can really Total War, although I have done reviews for other games somewhat similar, like Planet Base, which was kind of a space colony simulator. And that one is more in the vein of a SimCity type where, well, first of all, it's in 3D, you're building buildings. There's a little bit of, base management involved. It's a little more macro. This is looking a little more micro, kind of like what Eli said, like a tycoon kind of game. It's got the 2D graphics, so it's really a retro, like sort of, management game.
Yeah.
It could be fun. I agree though. It's hard for me to get excited about games like this, and when I do, they tend to be like a little more advanced. Like the last two games I played like this that I really, really enjoyed were Planet Base and City Skylines, which again both had 3D engines. I'm gonna have a hard time getting into a game that involves like base building that's not in a 3D engine at this point. So yeah, I don't know. Then again, I've still dumped a ton of hours into Game Dev Tycoon. So what can I say? Sometimes I'm a sucker for these titles. I still think it's worth reviewing though, and I'm sure I know we will review it. And the developers might have an interesting story. I'd consider talking to them.
Well, I mean, I've been surprised before. In fact, we've done a couple of reviews, or interviews rather, that I didn't think there'd be a market for, and yet Football Simulator and Hockey Simulator and Out of the Park Baseball all of which you should be able to find at OPNoobs.com if our intrepid server hamster has been doing his job in updating all the old reviews that we had from our previous site. We love you, Fred. We really do, you Frenchie. Anyway, last person on the list, Tyler, your thoughts?
I haven't played a ton of games like this, but I'm a sucker for anything that's space, so I'm kind of interested. I know that Galactology is seeming at least to find an audience, and I really hope it does. Their previous game, Galactology, did pretty well, though not as well as its predecessor, Galactology. So I know they're planning on doing another sequel eventually, Galactoctopus 2 Electric Boogaloo, and I'm hoping it does at least as well as Galactopolopolis. So I'm looking forward to this game and the rest of the series.
If I recall, that's also the one that has a reanimated corpse of Roger Ebert in the game.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he just listed off Civilization add-ons. That's what all those sound like.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I figure it's only a matter of time before. Wait, don't we already have a Warhammer Civilizations game? I'm pretty sure we already do.
I think that's Total War Warhammer that you're thinking of.
Oh yeah, Total War Warhammer. The such war so much.
Annie McWarface. Oh, I love that game.
War. Gotta love that one. Gets you right here, right in the cockles of the heart. You know. We're gonna move on to the next game. I think that's a maybe. We'll come back to that, but this is a confusing one for me. It is not only space, but it is super space. It's really space. It's the super space, but it's also space in the way of Atari meets Windows 7 pack-in game. It is Asteroids Minesweeper. All right, let that sink in for a little bit. All right. Asteroids Minesweeper. Chris?
All right. Asteroids Minesweeper. Be careful of explosive mines. Asteroids Minesweeper is an abstract, casual Minesweeper variant in 3 dimensions with some slight rules differences. Trim that asteroid and don't get too dizzy while rotating in a full 3D environment. Over to you, Tyler.
Developed by Francois Braud since 2007. That's a French name, I think, so I'm going to read it in a French accent. I am graduated from computer science and multimedia engineer school on Marne-le-Vallée, France. For event about new technologies, I have a passion for the software programming. I also have a multi-field knowledge on computer graphics, art, rendering, and web related to an interest in video games and imaging.
I should let you know that for the sake of accuracy, imaging was not part of the description just now.
Okay.
And of course, thank you for joining us, intrepid server gerbil, hamster, whatever works best for you, essentialist. Thank you, Fred, for pulling yourself away from The Witcher to, support us and all that stuff. Since
you barely got that armor.
Since you didn't want to be here and all that. Yeah, Stylo probably fell. All right, so we've got asteroids. We got mines. We got sweepings. Chris, your thoughts?
So I don't know. First I was like, okay, this is going to be just, kind of lame. But now that I'm looking at this and thinking about it a little more, I wonder if this would, scratch the same itch that game 2048 did. I don't know if any of you guys had a chance to play that. Now, I know this isn't quite the same thing. That was a little more mathematical than this, but sort of the same idea of this spatial representation with numbers is an interesting one to me. And Minesweeper was always kind of an interesting game, at least I thought as a kid, because it involved more logic than just other stuff. And so this is involves logic and spatial reasoning, which is kind of a cool puzzle idea. And this is, I think, the ideal kind of puzzle that you see on a PC that, if you have a mouse, makes it a lot easier to play. I think this would work well on a touchscreen too, but there's something uniquely PC about something that involves Minesweeper. So I would play this. This looks cool.
I think there's a rule that since Windows 95... No, probably since 3.1.
It's an older game than Windows 95, but they included it from 95 on for sure.
Yeah, but the fact is, I think every computer on the planet in some way had to come with Minesweeper at some point. Eli?
I used to play Minesweeper and especially got into Minesweeper flags, playing against friends to waste time. And it works for a 2D format. again, as a time waster. In a 3D format, when you're doing it on a cube, I can see one very serious potential problem in that when your randomly generated mines wind up to where you've got some of them blocking another one, you might not be able to eliminate some of the blocks that you need to. You may wind up where you've got kind of like a shell of mines around blocks that you need to get rid of, and it can make it really, really difficult to click on any of them. And in 3D, I just don't think it's as elegant as the 2D Minesweeper. I think it looks kind of clunky and ugly.
That's fair. Tyler, speaking of clunky and ugly, I didn't mean you. It's okay. We love you. I noticed that you're getting redder as we go along.
I really have to pee.
That's okay. Flowing stream.
Can I make a note here?
Power washers. Okay, go ahead.
I found a version of 3D Minesweeper from like a long time ago, like the 90s, maybe even the 80s. It looks like this maybe has been done before.
Huh.
Just saying.
I
put the link in chat there. Now, if it's not really the same thing, doesn't look like it's manipulated in 3D space in the same way, but people basically assigned numbers to 3D cubes and made Minesweeper out of it.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good as the 2D one. It kind of looks like a mess of blocks and numbers.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, I think it represents a minimalist aesthetic. Yeah, it sucks. You're right.
You're stretching. I'll give you that. You are trying to.
Hey, how about this one that actually is just a smiley face? I mean, tell me that doesn't have high resolution graphics.
Hey, don't make any knocks about what was it? Faceball was the old Doom clone. Since we talked about Doom clones a couple of times. AJ, your thoughts, and then we'll move forward from Minecraft.
Like Chris said earlier in the show, sometimes you got to ask yourself why. Here I am asking why.
So is that the question you want us to ask during the interview? Just why? Like 30 minutes of why.
And I agree with Eli was saying. It's like I mean, I understand they're trying to do something different on a classic game, but this just looks clunky, and it looks like they just get in each other's way. It doesn't look nice. I don't know. It's just that this doesn't look good. That's all I can really say. I mean, they're like, why would you make a game like this and then have it for something where you need to see what's going on too, like spinning it around? It just looks like stuff would get in your way and it'd be kind of annoying. This would just bother my OCD.
Understandable. So maybe we should just have you stream it for 48 hours straight.
I think there is an exception to make this game great, which the Dizzy Juice in chat just mentioned. If you could play this game with a Nintendo Power Glove, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, because then you'd be swiping at the air 35 times before you do a single thing. That'd be wonderful. That's great. Let's do an
VR.
Let's do a VR. Yeah, right? Since Fred's not here and he can only type, we should talk about the wonders of VR, don't you think, Chris? How would this go as a VR title?
It would be just as boring in VR as it would be in the real world.
That is entirely accurate.
I can test that to an extent. Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes has done very freaking well, either VR or not, and it's not too dissimilar in concept to this one.
I suppose he's not wrong, although that involves a little more co-op. This is single player.
Yeah. This is Keep Talking if you don't have friends.
Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is all about miscommunication between each other and screwing up.
Which
this one's more sarcastic. It's like, haha, keep talking, no one's listening.
But to be fair, honestly, when it comes right down to it, that sounds pretty much like the reason for the Jackbox games, does it not, Eli?
Jackbox is so great for letting you link up a ton of random people to come up with the most insane and offensive crap you can think of.
I had a good time that night with you guys.
That is true.
That was cool.
It's wonderful to watch, but I would only imagine it's more fun to actually take part. But just watching all that craziness going on every Thursday, by the way. Check the site for more information.
Maybe you guys should join in on it then.
Maybe we should. Maybe we will. So with that threat just hanging in the air, we're going to move on to the next one. It is called Metamorphic. We've only got 3 more, 4 counting this one. Metamorphic, Chris, go.
All right, Metamorphic. Inspired by the best of its genre, Metamorphic is a linear first-person puzzle platformer which attempts to bring something new to gamers. Each puzzle contains an assortment of non-gravity, gravity, and anti-gravity voxels, which the player must absorb, configure, and then morph. Only by creating the correct arrangement of voxels and then morphing them appropriately can a player get to the exit of each level and ascend further towards the surface. Much voxels. Over to you, Tyler.
Developed by Madeline Brook. Jeremy Slavitz. Jeremy Slavitz is a firehouse a game designer from San Francisco, California, currently studying computer science at Niagara Falls Tufts University in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, I have to be. I'll be back.
He sounded like he was already underwater. That was the best part. So we lost him. I think we're gonna have to think of something else we can torture him with. I was about to say about how many wonderful bodies of water there are on the East Coast, but it is what it is. Hopefully he'll be surfacing soon, folks. But anyway, voxel. It's like World War II. It's everywhere. Voxel. AJ, your thoughts on voxel?
Actually, I played a game that this game looks similar to. I reviewed it, I guess almost a year ago now, but it was called Anomaly 1729.
Yeah.
And the concept was, you basically like walked in these rooms, and the graphics are pretty much a less polished version of this. You had all these boxes, and you would have to press certain buttons in the room, and it would rotate the room or certain aspects of the room. And even though that game wasn't quite polished, it was pretty fun. Now this looks like you're actually able to move the stuff, but it looks very like similar in kind of like the puzzle design. So and this looks way more polished. And for Anomaly, I think I gave it like a 60 or 70 something. It was pretty good. So this looks kind of like a better version of that, and I would definitely be willing to give this a shot because I do take enjoyment out of puzzle games, and this one looks pretty solid. So yeah.
Tyler, what do you think? That's a really good point. I'm glad we called on you. Eli, what are your thoughts?
It's not really my type of puzzle game. Especially with almost everything being in voxel graphics. I mean, technically everything is voxel graphics. It's just that some of it's rounded and some of it's not, and that bothers the hell out of me. But I don't know. It just, it doesn't look that interesting to me.
That's an overwhelmingly meh. Tyler, not only did you relieve yourself, you somehow managed to turn into Hugh Hefner. How did that happen?
Things got pretty intense. At some point I took my clothes off. I don't want to talk about it.
That's fair. That's what you get for leaving the basement. Maybe you won't do that next time. Chris, what are your thoughts on this voxel type voxel thing that could be in VR voxel?
It's very voxelating, the whole game. I think it actually looks pretty cool. I mean, it's definitely vibing off of Portal a little bit, and you've got this kind of like cool gun that does some mysterious box moving or voxel moving stuff, and it looks like you can make pipes and break pipes and make spheres and break spheres, and there's all kinds of cool puzzle solving going on. So I think if Portal was your kind of game, I have a feeling this is gonna be for you.
I disagree. I love Portal, but unless it has the same kind of humor as Portal, these puzzles do not look like enough to make up for that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I guess people like Portal because of the humor too, a little bit, but I think that it all comes down to how unique the puzzles that they've created are. And this looks more unique than a lot of other stuff I've seen, which are, honestly much more frequently ripoffs of just Portal. So it's nice to see that this isn't just at least a direct ripoff of Portal. So yeah, I would play this for sure.
Okay. So we've got a we got a meh, we got a yes, and we've got a Hugh Hefner. So You guys in the chat, we're going to kind of leave it up to you. I personally say yes. I'm a big fan of these types of physics-based games, but VR, voxel VR. Chris, VR?
Oh man, yeah. And if this was a VR game, I'd be all over this. It looks like it was in many ways designed for that. So I could see this being really good in VR, particularly because you get advantages of being able to like see around objects and move around objects. You can manipulate things, and with the Vive controller, particularly, it's very intuitive to be able to like place objects and pick objects up. At least it was for one of the games I played. So yeah, I can see this working super well in VR, and I hope they do release it in VR because everything should be released in VR.
Everything, including everything.
We should just abandon all of our monitors and keyboards and mice and exclusively be in VR.
So you're saying that including, say, Solitaire, that should also be in VR?
Well, I mean, is Solitaire really that much different when you play it in a video game versus actual cards?
I don't know, but I think we could build many, many huge walls with this game. I will say that right now. Huge walls! Just the greatest walls. The greatest walls.
With the best material.
With the greatest materials. And only the best illegal immigrant workers. But we're not going to do that.
Well, so, we all know they don't send us their best. Actually, I shouldn't get
Nope. Nope. Although, Chris, just to throw in some politics, I do have to give my kudos to Bernie Sanders. He is truly the Monty Python Black Knight of politics. Cut off all the limbs, and he still won't admit defeat. That was our Monty Python reference of the night, by the way.
Come back here. I'll bite your ankles off.
I can actually see him saying that to that friggin' bird now. That's the problem. And now that Fred has probably died of a heart attack, we're going to move on to the last three of the evening. One that I'm super, super psyched to see, which means it's probably going to flop. Song of the Deep.
Yes.
Oh, so eager for this. That's why it's going to be bad. Chris, if you could, Song of the Deep.
All right, Song of the Deep is a Metroidvania-style action-adventure game following a young girl's quest into the unknown to find her missing father. Combining discovery, skill, and suspense with an unforgettable narrative, this underwater journey will challenge players to explore, experiment, and skillfully navigate. Over to you, Tyler.
Insomniac Games is an independent game developer with studios in Burbank, California and Durham, North Carolina? Prior to founding Insomniac, CEO and President Ted Price spent a few years as the controller of a startup medical company, where he decided that life in games must be easier. He was wrong. Fortunately, he found two very talented programmers, Alex and Brian Hastings.
Not only did he find programmers, but he also found brother programmers. Weird. Yeah. So,
Programmers.
Oh. Yeah, get back to your hole.
Well done.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. I will concede. You'll only get some of the fire hose today.
Okay.
But wow. First off, can we even call Insomniac really an indie dev at this point? I mean, they have released so much amazing stuff back in the PlayStation era, and now it's so gorgeous. Can we admit that it's gorgeous? I might be gushing about it, but just because everything about this screams in my brain. Metroidvania, gorgeous art style, Insomniac. I've only played one or two very bad Insomniac games, but we won't talk about those.
I'm on the hype train with you, Steven. I've been very excited about this game for a while.
Chris?
I agree, man. This looks beautiful. I love Metroidvania style games. I'm a sucker for when they have amazing graphics too. It's one of those, I think, retro variants that still has a lot of life in it because there's just so much you can do with that genre. There's just so much room to move around with as a developer, and I just really hope that this is going to be like Oni in the Blind Forest. It just follows in that vein of amazing Metroidvania style games. So yeah, I totally look forward to this. I do kind of agree though. I'm not really sure this can be considered an indie game per se, because I mean, they're on board with GameStop, like they're with the AAA people. So Yeah, you definitely lose your indie status.
Well, at the same time, because we have to reference them at least once a week. Of course, CD Projekt Red is not necessarily an indie dev, but they technically are because they independently publish and develop their game. By the way, Witcher 3, thank you. Thank you, my Polish brethren. Thank you so much for giving life to that book series.
Although I do want to note that it's it's an amazing homage to have another female lead protagonist, just like Metroid was. Even a lot of games that call themselves Metroidvania games don't copy that one little thing. So it's a nice little subtle similarity, which I think is good.
Right, a subtle similarity, definitely. I do like the idea that we have more female protagonists. And no, this isn't Polygon. You haven't stumbled onto that channel, I promise you. But I do like the fact that there is a female protagonist in this game. Because, again, like you said, Metroid, found out at the end, Samus was a woman. Who knew? And now we have
another... you at all, you know what I mean? Like, it was well done. You know?
This is true. And, again, we're not Polygon because we actually play games. We don't just half-ass it like Doom. Yes, I'm kind of pissed about that. Eli, your thoughts on this game?
I would definitely be interested in seeing somebody's opinion of it before I went to play it. I wouldn't personally want to be the one to review it because I have some reservations about it.
Okay.
It's not the type of game I usually get into. It does look like it has potential. But then also, like, some of the animations I'm really not keen on. Some of them look pretty clunky. But it might be good, so I'd still want to see what somebody thinks of it after playing it.
Okay. Tyler, it's a shame that you couldn't wait until now because this is a whole game underwater. Which I was really hoping we could get to a little bit faster, but damn me for talking. Tyler, since you are also on this hype train, is this gonna suck or not?
I sure hope it does well, and I think that it will. Even what really struck me about this game was that even some of my non-gaming friends somehow heard about it several months ago and were really excited about it. Like, I knew nothing about the game, and I asked them like, "Oh, like, what's it about?" And they're like, it's something about like a girl searching for her long lost father, like going on this like journey through like the ocean, and it seems like super cute and genuine. And I looked it up and I went, oh, okay, that's cool. It looks kind of like the Blind Forest game or Child of Light. It has that kind of Metroidvania feel to it. And they didn't understand any of those words because they don't really play games very often. But they still were so completely sold on it just because it seemed so freaking genuine to them. So assuming that that carries through for the entire game and not just the trailer, I think the genuineness of it alone will have it see at least some measure of success.
And AJ?
No, I mean, I can't say anything more than what everyone else has said. It looks beautiful. It looks, for the most part, pretty fluid. So it looks like it. Yeah, that was deep.
But is it a song of the deep?
No. But it also looks like it's going to have a little bit of change of pace in the game, because it looks like at some points you get out of the sub, and sometimes like it would kind of do what are they called? Like, I guess like chase levels where you have to run away. Like, you see the one part where the level's collapsing. So if it has enough change of pace, like levels, I think that would be definitely fun. But at the very least, it looks pretty good to me. So.
I'll probably end up playing this on my own Twitch channel. Of all the games we've covered in like the last several weeks, this is the one I'm the most hyped for.
And make sure that you're wearing an old-style diving helmet while you're doing it, just because.
Great idea. I like it.
Yes, do it in scuba gear, specifically scuba gear.
Flood your house.
I almost did a minute ago.
Wow, that's some more information than we really needed on that one, but. Yeah, I mean, if you could just open up a fire hose in the house and just flood yourself and just float around like a bloober. Nintendo reference. That's nice. 4, I think. Yeah, no, I think this is almost guaranteed. So we're going to move on to the next one. So we go from underwater to hell, I guess, with Necropolis.
All right. Introducing Necropolis. An addictive blend of third-person action and procedural dungeon delving. Oh, and permadeath. Adventure alone or with up to 3 friends in a magical death trap that reconstructs itself each time you play. Will you find the exit or die trying? Spoilers, you'll probably die trying. Over to you, Tyler.
Before I start reading the description, I have to say this is probably my favorite studio description I've seen so far, so I'm very happy with it. Harebrained Schemes is an independent game studio led by Jordan Wiseman, the creator of Shadowrun, Crimson Skies, Battletech, /MechWarrior, and many other acclaimed settings. Founded in 2011 by Wiseman and his partner in crime, Mitch Gittleman, the Seattle-based studio is centered on deep collaboration between seasoned veterans and fresh talent who share a passion for crafting game worlds and delighting their audience. I like to eat cheese with a side of rhubarb, mostly on Wednesdays, though. Over to you, Steven.
Thank you. I'm almost certain that Harebrained Schemes would have put that into their actual development description had they had the time. So, what kind of introduction can I give Harebrained Schemes? They are the reason that Shadowrun came to PC. They're the reason that it doesn't suck. They're the reason that MechWarrior is coming to the PC thanks to Kickstarter. Thanks for being one of the 7 Kickstarters I backed that are actually coming to light. I'm looking at you, Perihelion Interactive. I'm waiting for the mandate. I'm sick of seeing updates about how there are no updates. Thanks, guys. That being said, I have to admit that Star Citizen is further along than you guys, okay? Can you hurry it up, please? Please? Anyway. No, I love this. This is the art style that appeals to me. This is a hack and slash, which also appeals to me. This is Harebrained Schemes, which has done quality work in the past. This is kind of like a trifecta of awesome for me. So kudos to Dan and Stylo for putting this list together and only having a few space games. Chris, your thoughts?
This looks awesome. I really like what I'm seeing here. I think it's awesome that it's like a it's got a good 4-player experience. It also, because it's procedurally generated and because it's permadeath, I think that 4-player experience is going to be particularly interesting because, it's frequently, I imagine if the game lives up to what it's saying here, you will die and you're just going to be up against a new dungeon every time, which means you're just going to get good at this game. You're not going to be able to memorize things. It's not going to be like Left 4 Dead where it's like, eventually after playing Left 4 Dead a particular level like 10 times, if I just stand in this one corner with my whole team, we win every time. I hope that kind of situation doesn't happen here because it's procedurally generated. It also, I don't know why, but I'm getting kind of like a Gauntlet vibe. It's like if someone made Gauntlet into a PC game in 3D, it would be like this with a little more intense boss battles. So I'm all for this 100%. Will enjoy playing this because I have a feeling I'll buy this if it gets good reviews.
I can almost guarantee it's already a guaranteed buy for me, so I'm going to skip me. Eli, your thoughts?
This does look pretty cool. Obviously, I can't be totally certain just because it doesn't show you a whole lot of any given battle being fought, but the combat looks like it would be a lot of fun. One thing I noticed that seems interesting is it seems like that ninja-esque character that they focus on at the start of the trailer, they gave the character a little bit of a hip swagger in the walk, so I'm thinking it's supposed to be a woman.
Continuing with that theme of the female protagonist tonight.
Indeed.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a nice change. I will say that. Yeah, if you're going to have a nice cel-shady type, because I'm a sucker for cel shading, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. So, again, so eager. AJ, your thoughts?
Kind of piggyback on what Chris was saying. The fact that it is permadeath, yet it's randomly generated, I think goes a very long way, because that's one mistake I see a lot of developers of permadeath games make, is that the level stays the same, so you can literally just try something, be like, oh, I died, let's try this slightly differently, oh, I died, and go back, and it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like black and white when you do it that way, and you're doing like a chore you don't want to do. So with the fact that it's random with the way the situations are generated, I definitely like that. Graphics look solid. The only thing that kind of might be concerning me is like just the fighting mechanics. I wonder how in-depth they would be, because the only thing I'm seeing in the trailer is just sword swinging, which is fine and good, but I don't know, I kind of for me personally, I kind of get bored of just swinging a sword constantly. So that would be my only concern, but that's a trivial one.
It's understandable. I got a little choked up when you said black and white, and I realized, God, we're never gonna get Black and White 3. I don't have enough wine for that.
I wish.
God, Mullen, you why? Anyway.
Okay then.
Anyway, well, you know, you gotta represent where you came from. You know, you gotta remember your roots and all that.
Okay.
But anyway, hack and slash. I don't know. We've done a lot of hack and slash games. We've done a lot of reviews over the year or so, and I've never gotten tired of hack and slash. Maybe that's me. Maybe I just like destroying things. Maybe I have some deep-seated hatred that I need to work out. But, you know, hacking, slashing, always good, I think. Chris, I'm not going to ask you the VR thing, but Tyler, real quick from you, hacking, slashing, why is it awesome? Bit of a loaded question.
Yeah, there's something about the immediate feedback. If you're pressing a bunch of buttons and just killing a lot of things, it's hard to get a more pure feedback loop than with a hack and slash game. And it's not hard to pull off, except this looks like it has a decent amount of polish to it. I'm not familiar with the developer, so I don't know their previous games. And I just, from what it looks like, I can't say I've played a game even like this before. But I know I've played Castle Crashers and I've played Magicka, and those are kind of hack and slashy, and I really like those. And this kind of reminds me of that, except it looks like freaking beautiful, heavenly cell shading out of Journey, combined with some pretty like flowing mechanics. So I can't say I have like a game to even remotely compare this to, aside from just the hack and slash genre in general. But I'm stoked for it regardless. I think it could be, if it is hack and slash, like as it appears, then this could be a nice step up for the genre.
That's fair. That's fair. That's a much more well thought out. It's good that you finally did get to the bathroom, because now the intelligence is just spilling forth like a bubbling brook.
Yeah,
and
I was pretty pissed off.
Chris, you were talking to yourself for a little bit. We didn't want to interrupt.
Can you hear me now?
You can, Verizon. Well, Sprint man. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna just throw one more thing in too. It's hard not to see a little bit of a comparison between Wind Waker as well, obviously because of the graphics, but let's not forget, I guess you could call Zelda games hack and slash games, third-person hack and slash games, if you're going to be, you know, very rigid about genres. And so I wonder, I don't wonder anything here. I just kind of get a similar vibe there as well, because that had a few sword mechanics in it, and this kind of looks like it's got some similar sword mechanics as Wind Waker does, in addition to having the graphical similarities.
Fair enough. That makes Nintendo reference, I think, 6, if we're trying to
get as many as I can in there.
That is true. That is true. So we're going to get to our last game of the evening, mostly because I'm out of wine and mostly because I haven't drunk enough to talk about it. But before we do that, let's talk about what we do. Like Chris said at the top of the hour, or 2 hours ago, we are OPNoobs, OPNoobs.com. We do previews, we do reviews, we do alphas and betas, and we do esports. Damn it, and we love esports. But everything that we do is totally volunteer-based. We are taking time out of our busy schedules on Tuesdays and Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays and all that other stuff to literally just sit around and talk about video games. But we try to entertain people as well. I mean, we've got Tyler just urinating up a storm every single Tuesday when he shows up. We've got Eli that does his own shows where everybody gets games if they beat them at the games. We've got Chris and myself that are repping the Nintendo Defense Force. We've got Fred, who is representing the entire country of France for some reason. We've got AJ that shows up because he can. Maybe because Chris knocks on his wall and, you know, you have no choice. But we can't do it by ourselves because all this crap costs money. And when it comes right down to it, we like entertaining people. And we like bringing stuff to you. We like bringing games that we can give away for free with, you know, out of our pockets. And Fred is crying and we have to feed the writers and all the stuff. So we have a Patreon, like everybody else online, but we have a Patreon that actually gives back. If you check out the Patreon down there, big old button says Patreon. I'm sure Chris is already in the process of typing out the big old link. You get stuff. All right, look at the tiers. If you donate to those tiers, we give you stuff. We're like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, but we actually provide the crap that we say we're going to provide. Again, Perihelion Interactive. Could you get working, please? Thank you. But that being said, we also do esports. We did esports for indie is our thing. We also have another thing in the pot called Indies Without Borders. You can check that out at OPNoobs.com. Find out more about that little initiative. Chris, my God, am I missing anything? What more do we have to shill, sir?
I think that's it. I mean, I just remind all the good, kind folks to come back next Tuesday at the same bad time, the same bad channel.
That is right.
But yeah, you crushed it, man. That was well done.
That is right. We're going to have Eli dress up as King Tut from the old Batman show from the 60s. And we're going to have Tyler dress up as Egghead.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Couldn't
That's
I,
right.
Couldn't I
Can I
dress
be
up as the
Catwoman?
Penguin?
What?
I want to be Penguin.
You want to be Penguin? You don't want to be King Tut?
I want to be Penguin.
Okay. Wait, you could always be Frank Gorshin's Riddler. Think about it.
I don't remember that one.
I think he'd be a good penguin, though. I like him as penguin.
You would be a good Burgess Meredith. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Get little assault penguins for you. AJ, you wanted to be Catwoman?
Yeah, I could
Which-
be Catwoman.
Do you want to be the Eartha Kitt Catwoman?
It doesn't matter. Just give me that suit.
or the Julie Newmar version? We're old, okay? Some of us are anyway.
I have no idea what you're all talking about.
It's totally okay, Tyler. You're just going to be Vincent Price with a skull cap.
You can't do the
Okay.
voice.
What's a
I'm
Vincent?
Googling Vincent Price.
You get
need
off my
somebody-
show.
You need somebody who can do the voice, or it's not going to work.
That is true. We got to make sure someone can do the voice. Well, there are some really crazy ones. The Mr. Freeze was a little sketchy from the 60s Batman. We could always
Oh,
have
God.
that.
The 60s cartoon Mr. Freeze.
Ah, yeah. Now we're getting in there. Or we could
Arnold was
just
the only Mr. Freeze, all right?
wait. We could do the Arnie Mr. Freeze if that's more your speed. You can just pretend to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger for the entire time.
Throw in a get to the chopper.
Oh, he's not very nice.
As Mr. Freeze, no, but
No,
but
just throw
anyway.
it in there just because.
But this segue, this crazy thing has a purpose because we are going to cover. Oh, God. Sorry. We are going to cover the Activision is bringing us this. So send your hate mail to press@activision.com. Ugh, sorry. Look, I was
Okay, Steve,
born.
we'll make it. We'll do this together.
I know. Like, I was born when this came out the first time. Okay, so I feel. Well,
So
I was
you're
born
one of
around the area.
You're one of the generation of super nostalgics for Ghostbusters.
I was born before this came out, and then it came out, and I'm like, oh my God, why is SNL doing a long-term skit? Why? Oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And then we got Ghostbusters 2, and what is this?
Yeah.
And then we got nothing for a long time. And then we got Atari's, of all people, Ghostbusters the video game, which was amazing. It was written and effectively directed by the entire original team. Everybody, including bored Bill Murray, was part of it. It was effectively, by Dan Aykroyd's own admission, the official Ghostbusters 3. It had all the people. And now we've got Ghostbusters the reboot, brought to you by Paul Feig. Fig. I forget. I'm sorry. Don't kill me, Tumblr. It was a mistake, okay? I was young. I need them. Sorry. Look, it's Ghostbusters the reboot. God, Chris, just get on with it. Please.
Okay. Well, have you and your friends been experiencing paranormal activity, like horrible, terrible, haunting reboots? Grab your proton pack and join the Ghostbusters as you explore Manhattan, blasting goats, trapping those runaway ghouls, and cashing in as hard as you can on your childhood memories. Over to you, Tyler.
Couldn't have said it better. Glad they were actually clear about that in the description. Tyler.
It's all
Oh
there.
my gosh. For more than 30 years, Activision has been changing the way people play. In the process, we have built one of the largest portfolios of recognized brands, and today we are one of the most valuable interactive entertainment companies in the world. Founded in 1979 as the first independent video game software developer and distributor, the company launched a series of multi-million unit selling titles in the early 1980s for the Atari 2600, including Pitfall, Kaboom, and River Raid. And since then, Activision has created some of the most iconic and memorable game experiences of all time. We strive to make the most fun, thrilling, and engaging entertainment experiences for our players, who live in a world with many entertainment options. Over to you, Steven.
No! Oh, anyway, sorry. Eli, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a fair bit I want to say about this. Hopefully you'll give me a little bit.
Yeah, no, the mic is yours.
So first off, Activision didn't actually develop this. They're just the publisher. And it was developed by a company called Fireforge Games. And I tried to look this up earlier. Apparently, this is their first video game ever. They don't have a web page with any links to any video games that they've done at all. They have a page talking about the miniature figurines that they make. So this is a little bit odd. And to me, this screams of just, movie cash-in. Like, they're just playing off of the movie, trying to get people to buy it because the movie's coming out and all this shit. And it looks like it's just as lazy as nearly every other movie cash-in game that's come out. It uses really cliched play in the game. Like, it's an isometric twin-stick shooter kind of thing. It's using old-school kind of graphics, not like cool old-school, just, old graphics. The characters are ridiculous. Like, I looked at the pictures for it, and like the big guy is carrying basically a minigun in the pictures, and it's like, what does this have to do with Ghostbusters? Why does he have a minigun?
Because it's America.
It doesn't even make sense.
Sponsored by the NRA.
And it's silly and it looks stupid. And I hope we have somebody review it that will just rip it to pieces unless there is some serious redeeming quality to this. Like, I got no problem with them doing a remake that has new characters at this point. Like, if they do a good job at it. The commercials for the movie didn't look particularly promising to me, but I'm not going to assume that it's bad just because their personalities are different. But oh god, this is just, it just makes no sense from the material that they've put out there to advertise it. It looks ridiculous.
Okay, AJ.
No. Yeah, that was actually some good info, Eli, because when I was seeing that, I did look like this had somewhat of a budget, but it somehow didn't look polished. So that is kind of interesting that this would be this, what was it, Fireforge's
first game?
Fireforge Games. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, watching this trailer, it does have some evidence of that, right? And it's weird that Activision would distribute that. That's just making me curious at how that could have happened. Like, who did people know?
That's what happens with movie cash-in games. They just pick a studio that'll make it in the time frame they give them for the amount of money they give them to make the game, and then they sell it. And they hope that it makes them money just off of people wanting to play a game that's like the movie.
No. Wait a second. There have been some good movie cash-in games.
Oh, that's why when I was doing my rant, I said most movie cash-in games.
Usually
sometimes they do a great job.
Usually those games are based on good movies. Like, the problem here is that the movie to begin with is a cash-in. I mean, it's a remake of Ghostbusters that was kind of a weird, uncalled for remake that tried to appeal to a wider audience and, do something risky. And then in the end, it ended up just becoming kind of victim to its own, attempt at popularity. And so what we've got is a game that is a cash-in itself, also clearly a victim of its own popularity, because if they've never made a game before, then what other reason would you hire them for the fact that they must be known, in some circle by word of mouth only? It just doesn't surprise me that the game is going to be a cash-in that is almost as bad as the movie cash-in itself.
Well,
No,
we
no surprise there.
to be fair, we don't know how that's gonna go. The trailer is generally
Fair.
indicative of the best scenes of the movie. That's the intention to get you into the theater, and
I would say you just have to keep in mind the mindset of corporate executives in charge of these movie studios. They decide to make the new sequel because it is it's an established franchise that people love. That's the entire reason why they decided to do that sequel. It's an assumption on their part that it's going to make money and that it's going to have a good number of ticket sales, obviously. And then when they have some studio that says, "Hey, you know, we could do a video game tie-in to this,"
$50 and a 6-pack of beer. That's our lowest bid.
Yeah, they basically, like, for the movie studio, it's no real risk. Like, any money that they put into the game is going to be minimal, and they tell the game studio, "Okay, get this out by the time the movie comes out. You have that much time to do it." So it's usually a game studio that is relatively inexperienced, not always, but usually, and they cram through it as fast as they can to get it done. And like I was talking about earlier before the show, Terminal Reality has done they did an amazing job on that with, like, the Eon Flux game. That was a tie-in to the movie. It was
Which
actually
was a
better.
terrible movie, but a good game from what.
Yeah, the game was better than the movie. And it was well received when it came out, even though the movie was panned. And
no, it
they
was potted. It was put in a pot and then it was boiled, if I remember correctly. Go on.
Boiled, fried, who cares?
And we don't even want to talk about X versus Sever.
But they did an amazing job on that, and they did it in, I think it was 8 months for the entire process to make the game. And that is an absolutely unreal speed for making a game. And unfortunately, Terminal Reality went out of business, which sucks because they made some really great games.
Yeah.
But that's a rare case where that was a studio that knew what they were doing, and they were able to cram through it and still do a great job at it. But in most cases with these, it's not a studio like that. It's just some studio with people that are like, "Hey, this is a chance for us to get our name out there and get people to buy something we make."
I don't know if this is the thing you want to throw your name. This is not necessarily the hill I would want to die on as a studio taking on such a large topic. And I feel that sometimes the movie and the game and the licensing, and if it were called anything else, Ghost Chasers, the sequel, I don't care what you call it, just, Spookbusters, call it anything else.
Spookbusters.
Oh no.
Yes.
I would rather see the Ghost Facers from Supernatural than see this thing out there. Tyler's writing it down, going to
Spookbusters.
He's going to Indiegogo, right? I think there's a porn parody already. So, sorry.
It's a Z at the end instead of an S.
Oh, that means it's really extreme. So, Tyler, as somebody that I think was a zygote when Ghostbusters came out, what are your thoughts, not talking about the movie that apparently needs to hit at least 50 million in order to consider it a success? What are your thoughts on the trailer that we're seeing right here?
Well, I have essentially no experience with the Ghostbusters franchise, whether it be game or movie.
Mm-hmm.
So as a game, I think it looks like not particularly impressive, but not particularly bad. I can tell you, I am definitely interested in playing it solely because of all the hate it's potentially properly getting. And same with the movie. I'm probably gonna enjoy the movie just because, like, in spite of the universe, because I have no background with Ghostbusters to taint this experience for me. So I look forward to enjoying both the game and the movie and being one of 6 people in existence that do, perhaps.
So that was literally your excuse to say taint. Okay,
no,
that's fine.
Oh,
there you go.
Wasn't supposed to be that easy to figure out.
You're right. You're right. But I have to admit, I will see this movie. I will see this movie and I will go in with as open a mind as I can. I will not consider it a Ghostbusters film. It is a reboot. So I'm going to
open mind and a full flask.
Yes, I'm going to go. Oh, the flask will be ginormous. I will not only get the pat down at the theater, but I will give some to the guard just so I can walk through.
I am definitely going to take a flask into the theater with me.
But you are going to see it. That's the thing.
Probably. I may just decide to sneak into a theater with a flask of booze and not know what I'm going to be watching, but
isn't that
the booze is the important part here.
But isn't that the standard Friday? Either way.
Or Tuesday.
Or Wednesday, really. It's funny that you mentioned movie games not being all that great. Games are not that great either, but I'm still looking forward to my Tales from the Dark Side MOBA. Yeah. I just want to see that weird combination because let's face it, it was better than Twilight Zone. But so far we've got Tyler's going to see the movie and probably maybe play this game.
Yep.
Eli is going to see the movie under duress and he probably won't play the game.
Okay, I not under duress. Like I said, I'm not making any judgments
under
on the
the
movie.
Influence.
Yes, under the influence. Absolutely.
You are correct. I'm going to see the movie just to be fair. That way, I'm not going to walk into it expecting it's going to be a shit show, but there's no way that it can't be. There's honestly no way that...
How is that not an expectation?
Well, the expectation I have is that there's no way seeing the quality of the game is what I'm talking about. The movie, I have no expectations on. The game, though, we have to review this game because we have to do the AAA game. So, Stylo, you jerk. He put it last. We need to cover the last game. As always, it is a rule. So, I'm not sure what I'm looking at with this trailer. I really don't. I have seen games done by one guy and a cat that have been higher quality. There's an old game for DOS that I used to play and still play, it's called Ghostmaster, where you take on the role of ghost and you have to haunt an area and you have to scare all the humans and whatnot. And that was made back in Windows 95 era. Those graphics were better than what I'm seeing in this trailer. So just on that idea and the fact that Sanctum of Slime exists, we already have a twin stick Ghostbuster shooter. We don't need another. And I loved Sanctum of Slime because it did it right. New team, it had the old ones passing on knowledge. It was like Extreme Ghostbusters the game, which was a kick-ass cartoon. I wish it wasn't canceled. But I'm sorry, I just cannot see this doing well, other than the fact that it will be bought by the name only. Chris, your final thoughts, and then we'll close up.
Well, I'm just going to double down on what I said before about this movie probably not being very good. And it's not just because I just feel like hating on it, unnecessarily, because it's a reboot. I just think that the rumors that have been coming out about its production have shown or have been very telling. There's been a lot of infighting apparently between the main actors or actresses, and people have been arguing about who gets more lines and who has the funniest lines, and they've been sort of debating all these kind of things that are irrelevant to the actual point of making a good movie. And it just makes me worry. Like I said from the beginning, the whole thing's a cash grab. It's probably going to be a disaster train that just collides into the station with all the games and merchandise and everything, and viewers with it. It's going to be terrible for everyone involved. And the game, I think, that we're seeing here is going to be included with that huge pile of shit. So yeah, good luck to anyone who has to review this game. I'm just glad it's not me.
So if you own a Tumblr account and you are angry about what we've said on this one, you can send all your nasty emails to chris@opnoobs.com. I am going to very simply say that this is not the sequel that we need, nor is it the sequel that we deserve.
The game's not Batman?
Sadly, no. But we're going to stick with that, and we're going to end on that high sour note. So, we have said yes to the following. Hyperdimension Neptunia Limited Edition Wombo Combo Trilogy Pack. Game of the Year Edition. the Spatials, Galactology, Asteroids, Minesweeper, we're not saying yes to, so I just wanted to try and scare people with that one. We did say yes to Metamorphic. We said yes to Song of the Deep. We said yes to Necropolis. And then we said, oh God, no, why? Yes to Ghostbusters, the not video game.
Ghostbusters.
So if you have been triggered by anything that we have said tonight, and you have to run to your safe space, and you have to send us a nasty email, a very long one, and try and get us all fired, psych! We can't get fired. So go to OPNoobs.com. Check out the previews, reviews, any of the other stuff that we do. If you think that you can do it better than us, shoot an email over to Fred@OPNoobs.com. Also, Francois at OPNoobs.com. It gets to the same email address, I promise you. If you like what we had to say, Patreon right down there. Throw us a couple of bucks. We will bring you more fun and engaging content. Some might be boozed up. Some might not be boozed up. But we can promise you entertainment in some form. Every weekend we do interviews. We do esports for indie, which is our chance and our attempt to take indie games that have solid communities and they want a spotlight on their game. We just recently did Verdun, which is a World War I shooter, which kicked absolute ass. It was a sponsored tournament by Joss. Shout out to Joss out there at Blackmail Games. It was also sponsored by M2H. So these aren't just random community tournaments, although the community did back it and they took part in it. Verdun League, shout out to them. Of course, our partners at Ethics Gaming. We know so many people. It feels like an Oscar speech. But seriously, we bring out more stuff every single week and weekend. Patreon, right down there. Couple bucks. That's all it takes, guys. But that's our show for tonight. Tune in next time at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we will see more terrible and wonderful games all at the same time. We would not like to thank the Academy. This is the Grammys, so there's no Academy. So, with that in mind, check out the every Thursday or every other Thursday, depends on if we can get people, because we get people. We do Eli's show, which is basically games. You beat him in a game, you get a game. There's no loss at all. We do interviews, like I said, but from everybody at OP Noobs, all of you out there, check us out, OPNoobs.com. We're going to go away. Good night, everybody. Check the site for more details. Yeah.